A second mass whale stranding in 3 weeks occurred Friday on southwest Iceland's Reykjanes peninsula. The stranding happened on the rocky coast of Garður, the northernmost town of the peninsula, after 50 to 70 pilot whales were spotted close to shore near high tide. One of the first responders on the scene, at 7 o'clock, police officer Hjálmar Hallgrímsson said there was an attempt to push the whales out to sea, but when high tide hit at 7:30, they all just sailed right on ashore. More than 50 whales were stranded close to the breakwall. Police were joined by Björgunarsveit, Iceland's volunteer search and rescue team. Whale rescue was ongoing throughout the night, with 30 whales successfully rescued and returned to sea before 8 a.m. Saturday morning. The whales were stranded on a rocky shoreline, a distance from the ocean when the tide was low. Many whales sustained injuries when they scraped across the rocky shore. At the scene, the whales could be heard breathing and occasionally thrashing tails or fins when sprayed with water by the rescue team. Approaching low tide at 1:48 a.m. Saturday morning, the rescue team worked hard to keep the whales wet. Whales were covered with damp blankets or seaweed. Each rescue worker had 1 to 3 whales in their care, either spraying them with ocean water pumped through a hose or carrying buckets of water from nearby tidal pools. Rescue team members were required to wear full protective suits with a breathing mask and eyewear. These precautions were taken due to an unconfirmed eyewitness account that a visiting scientist identified some of the whales were carrying an infectious disease of the lungs and eyes, which could be transmitted to humans in close proximity. The rescue team worked throughout the night. At the high tide of 7:30 a.m., 30 of the 50 whales were able to swim back into the ocean. Given pilot whales' herd behavior, there is concern that the rescued whales could strand again while waiting for remaining beached whales. Authorities report that the remaining stranded whales will likely die. The Reykjavik Grapevine was on the scene at low tide and again before high tide. While the rescue mission was accessible at low tide, the site was cordoned off prior to 6 a.m. with no access to journalists. Surveying the area, the Grapevine noted that several whales had stranded to the west of the rescue site. This is Iceland's third largest mass stranding of the past 40 years, 2 of which have occurred in the past month. The largest mass stranding occurred in 1986. 148 pilot whales died at Thorlaxshöfn. Last month, 53 pilot whales stranded and died on the remote island of Gamla Eyri on the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. Pilot whale occurrence has increased in the shallow coastal waters off West Iceland over the last few years. Pilot whales travel in herds, led by a matriarch. If the lead whale navigates shallow water, hunting prey, or due to illness, the herd will follow.